Hi, everyone. My name's Abby. I'm a dietitian here at Simmons Cancer Center. And today I'm going to be talking about some nutrition and lifestyle tips to reduce cancer risk. I just want to say thank you to my colleague, Darian Hall, for helping me put together this PowerPoint. So, today we're going to talk about some different evidence-based nutrition and lifestyle interventions for reducing cancer risk and also how to find trustworthy sources online for nutrition information. So, something I would like for everyone to ask is what percentage of cancer cases can be prevented? Well, many people believe that cancer is only due to genetic reasons, and while genetics do play a big part in whether someone is at risk for and develops cancer, around 40% of cancer cases can be prevented. Even if you have a genetic risk factor, there are still different diet or lifestyle factors within your control that can help you reduce your incidence of cancer. So, in the United States, there's about a 42% lifetime risk for people to develop cancer, and about one-third of these cancers are considered preventable through a few simple lifestyle changes, such as maintaining a healthy weight for you, eating a more plant-based diet, such as a Mediterranean or DASH diet, and getting regular physical activity. So, the first one that we're going to talk about is how to be a healthy weight for your body. So, after not smoking, being a healthy weight is the single most important way to protect against cancer. However, estimates show that about 74% of Americans fall short. This is mostly based off of something called the BMI, which does have limitations, however, can still be important for you to know and monitor your BMI. The NIH has a great calculator where you can put in your height and weight to find your BMI. So, in one kind of cancer, postmenopausal breast cancer, they find that gaining weight as an adult, if it causes you to be in the overweight or obese category, can increase your risk of cancer. And this graph shows by how much weight gain is correlated to what increased risk. So, why does excess weight increase our risk for cancer? Well, body fat is something called metabolically active. So it produces hormones such as estrogen. It also contributes to insulin resistance by fueling insulin and insulin-like growth factor production. Also can be a cause of chronic inflammation. So, what are some things that we can do to help reduce our weight or maintain a healthy body weight? That would be things such as walking or other forms of physical activity, eating foods that contain fiber, and having a Mediterranean style diet pattern. Things that increase our risk of gaining weight include things such as a Western diet, fast foods, having too much screen time, and consuming sugar sweetened beverages. Weight loss can be a big topic and it's easy to feel overwhelmed. Everything we're going to talk about in today's presentation is all about making small, realistic changes. Small changes over time lead to big goals being achieved. One framework that I like to think about is to make SMART goals for yourself. So when you're making a goal, instead of saying something like, I will lose weight, try to make it specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. So instead of saying, will lose weight, I could focus on my behavior. So think about the previous slide. Sugar sweetened beverages are a risk factor for increased weight gain. So I could say something like, I can decrease my soda consumption from 2 cans per day to one for the month of September, and then maybe in October, I replace my soda with water. There are many resources here at UT Southwestern that can help you with weight loss. We have a UT Weight Wellness Clinic that can be a great resource. There's many online resources such as AICR's Healthy 10 Challenge. There's also several apps such as MyFitnessPal or Lose It. Eating Well magazine can be a great source for recipe ideas. And we have a healthy eating webinar class offered here in the Cancer Center for no additional charge. Please reach out to your clinic if you're interested in this option. Step, the second thing that you can do to reduce your risk of cancer is to be physically active. So, physical activity can reduce your risk of cancer by 25 to 30% with evidence of a dose response. So, this basically means the more physical activity you do, potentially the more benefits you get. And this helps by reducing inflammation, glucose, and insulin levels. It can help lower body fat and maintain our lean muscle mass. However, despite all these benefits, only about 4 in 10 Americans are aware that insufficient physical activity can increase cancer risk. So, for weight maintenance, we recommend around 150 minutes of activity per week. If it's moderate, if it's strenuous, then you can do 75 minutes per week. For weight loss, we recommend 300 minutes of moderate activity per week or 150 minutes of strenuous exercise. So moderate means that you could carry on a conversation easily, such as walking, swimming at a recreational pace, playing doubles tennis, or also things like chores, such as scrubbing floors, washing windows. For vigorous activity, it may be harder for you to talk, or you may become winded or out of breath, such as running, bicycling more than 10 miles per hour, or circuit training. Think about what we talked about on a previous slide and try to limit sedentary habits, such as watching television or sitting at a computer. So, a lot of people, when they're trying to lower their weight, they will focus on physical activity, and physical activity has so many great benefits, like we talked about. However, as this study shows, it's often not enough to make a big difference in your weight. So, the best way to make a difference in your weight is to increase physical activity and to also make dietary changes. Couple of different programs that are available to you in the community if you want to become more physically active. One here at UT Southwestern is Walk with a Doc, and that is a walking program where you hear about a health topic from a healthcare professional here at UT Southwestern, and then you walk as a group for an hour. And the website is on the slide if you want to learn more about that. Also, the YMCA offers discounted or income-based memberships. If applicable, your local senior center may also offer free fitness classes. Another thing that can be helpful for some people is to just join some sort of club or activity. So whether it's a run club, a, a pickleball tournament, find something that you like and it'll make physical activity a lot easier to do. Number 3 is going to be eat a more plant-based diet. So when we say a plant-based diet, what do we mean? Well, first we mean eating at least 5 servings of fruit and vegetables per day, with some studies showing additional benefit at 7 to 9. So what is a serving of fruits or vegetables? For vegetables, that would be about half a cup of fresh frozen or canned vegetables, with leafy greens being a bit of an exception where 1 cup would count as a serving. For fruit, that would be a medium or baseball sized piece of fruit or about half a cup. Juice, about 6 ounces or 3/4 of a cup does count as a serving. However, we do recommend limiting juice overall. A lot of times I'll get asked the question, what is the best fruit or vegetable for cancer prevention? We want everyone to eat a variety of fruits and vegetables because that is going to give you a variety of vitamins and minerals and optimal cancer prevention benefits. So what does this look like on your plate? Try to fill 2/3 or more of your plate with a colorful variety of vegetables, fruits, whole grains, beans, or legumes, all those plant-based foods that we want you to eat more of. AICR, or the American Institute for Cancer Research, is a great website where you can get information on recipe ideas, foods that fight cancer, and other information about dietary choices. Another great resource is Old Ways, and they show how you can adopt a plant-based diet to fit a variety of cultural patterns. There are many different cookbooks and websites online that provide a lot of good recipes on how to adopt a more plant-based diet. Here are some on the screen that other patients have liked. So number 4 is try to limit highly processed foods. Now this is a big topic, so what do we mean by processed foods? So consuming things like fast food or Western type diets are causes of weight gain, obesity, and which are linked to several different kinds of cancer. So processed foods are things that basically you couldn't make in your own kitchen. So think things like Twinkies, foods with a lot of additives, also foods that are further away from those whole plant foods we talked about before, like fruits, vegetables, whole grains, legumes, nuts, and seeds. Another thing that can be high in processed foods are something called unhealthy fats. So that would be so that would be things like fried foods like donuts, french fries, fried chicken or fish. We also want people to be mindful of consuming saturated fat. So this is from things like milk, cheese, butter, red meat, coconut, or palm oil. However, we do encourage people to consume healthy fats such as avocados, nuts, vegetable oils such as olive oil, also things like fatty fish. Number 5 is to limit consumption of red and processed meat. So, any amount of processed meat eaten regularly can increase our risk of stomach and colorectal cancer. Processed meat includes things like bacon, sausage, ham, pepperoni, hot dogs, and other lunch meats. Eating just a small amount of processed meat can increase our risk significantly by for colon cancer about 16%. Some of the safest cooking techniques for red meat include braising and low temperature methods of cooking. And for red meat, we consider that something like beef, pork, lamb, any meat that comes from a mammal. We recommend that you limit to about 12 to 18 ounces per week. Number 6 is to limit consumption of sugar and other sugar sweetened beverages. So this is a big topic, and sugar does not feed cancer, unlike what you may see online. Um, However, cancer cells are metabolically active, so they do tend to take up a lot of glucose. However, too much simple carbohydrates in the diet, such as added sugar, can increase insulin levels. And insulin is a growth factor, and high insulin levels are linked to increased cancer risk. Uncontrolled diabetes is also linked to increased cancer risk. Finally, a diet high in refined sugars is highly associated with weight gain. And being in that overweight or obese BMI category can be associated with increased cancer risk as well. However, sugar found naturally in whole foods we d- is not recommended to restrict. So that's any sort of like fruits, vegetables, whole grains, or low-fat dairy products. Those are foods that have been shown to be beneficial in preventing cancer. So we want to try to limit added sugar to no more than about 24 grams per woman and 36 grams per men. So now on the nutrition label, you'll see that they added another line specifically for added sugar. So this can be a little confusing because total sugar is right above it. However, we are really concerned about added sugar in the diet. So, if you were to look at this nutrition label and to look at the added sugar, you may think this is not something that I can fit into my diet. So just one serving of soda, one bottle exceeds the daily amount of added sugar for men and women. Number 7 is to limit alcohol consumption. So we often hear that drinking red wine is good for you. However, unfortunately, studies have shown that alcoholic drinks of any kind can raise cancer risk, especially cancers, head and neck cancers, esophageal cancer, breast cancer, colorectal cancer, stomach cancer, and liver cancer. Alcohol is the third leading preventable cause of cancer after tobacco and obesity. S- Alcohol can raise cancer risk by increasing levels of estrogen, altering gene expression, causing DNA damage, and also causing tissue damage. So, we do recommend that you limit alcohol consumption overall. However, if you choose to consume alcohol, we recommend no more than 1 drink per day for women and 2 drinks per day per men. So, the amount of the amount that would count as 1 drink is listed on the screen here, and something that can be helpful is to think of your glass. So if you were to drink wine, what is 5 ounces or 1 drink? So these are different size glasses, and so they show what 5 ounces would look like. Very often people will say, well, I only have 1 glass of wine or 1 beer per day. And unfortunately, with some of the glasses that are being sold, that 1 glass could be more than 1 drink per day. So this is just another study that showed what is alcohol's relationship to a certain kind of cancer risk, in this case, postmenopausal breast cancer risk. And as you can see, even small amounts of alcohol consumption did increase cancer risk. So the takeaways are if you don't drink, don't start. And then if you do drink, limit your alcohol consumption. Number 8 is do not use supplements for cancer prevention. So no supplements have been shown to be helpful in the prevention of cancer. However, having a balanced plant-based diet has been shown to be beneficial. In general, supplements are not recommended unless your doctor tells you that there's a known or likely deficiency. The supplement market is not well regulated. However, if you do need to take supplements for a known or likely deficiency, we recommend that you look for some of these symbols on the label, such as NSF, USP, or Consumer Labs. Some great resources to learn more about supplements would be the About Herbs database by Memorial Sloan Kettering and the NIH Office of Dietary Supplements. So if you are a mom and you can breastfeed your baby, that has been shown to lower the risk of certain kinds of cancer. And then if you have already been diagnosed with cancer, all these same recommendations apply to help prevent recurrence. Just another note is that you have a dietitian here on your support team at Simmons. So sometimes we get the question, what is the difference between a dietitian, a nutritionist, or a health coach? So dietitians in Texas have to complete a very specific educational program. They have to do a supervised internship where they see patients. They also have to pass a board exam. Unfortunately, nutritionists or health coaches are not held to the same level of regulation in the state of Texas. So please, whenever you're online, try to seek out dietary information from registered dietitians. If you have any questions, please reach out to your care team. Thank you for watching.